Have you ever wondered what the highest grossing movies of all time would be adjusted with inflations, and how a person would rank those movies? I done my research. I now know what the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time would be adjusting for inflation, and I'm here to rank them. Now for context, because I'm sure you guys don't know the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time, adjusted with inflations would be. So the top 10 in order from 10 to 1 is The Force Awakens, Dr. Zhivago, The Ten Commandments, E.T., Sound of Music, Avengers Endgame, Star Wars, A New Hope, Titanic, Avatar, and Gone with the Wind. Yes, even adjusting for inflations, Avatar is still in the top 3. So now that you know what the top 10 movies are, let's rank them. And this might possibly be the slowest movie I have ever seen. It's almost 3 hours of absolutely nothing happening. The movie's 3 hours long. You would think that they'll be able to expand certain plot lines, all these different things, but no. The plot lines just felt like plot lines were happening for the sake of having a plot line happen. I barely understood anything that was happening in this movie, and I sat through a movie that I didn't understand for 3 hours. The only parts I really did enjoy are the last 20 minutes, because that's the part where I'm like, okay, I'm lacking the storyline that they're doing, but it's the last 20 minutes out of a 3-hour movie. So you have basically 2.5 hours of nothing. Not enjoying the film whatsoever, and you're just watching plot points happen for the sake of plot points happening for 2.5 hours. Like I said, this is the slowest movie I have ever seen. I know this movie has its fans, but I'm not one of them. Meet the highest grossing movie of all time adjusting for inflation. And this movie's apparently that good, which to me, it's almost on the level of the previous movie. Instead, this one is 4 hours long, and the last hour is the best part. This was another slow movie and a huge waste of time. 4 hours of my life just gone like that. Like I said, the last hour was the most enjoyable part. It was the most interesting part of the story. It felt like the story was just unraveling in that last hour. I do understand the first 3 hours is kind of setting up to all of that, but it also feels like the first 2 hours of this movie is a war drama, and the last 2 hours are more of a romance movie. And the movie kind of feels like two different sides. I wasn't really interested in the war stuff at all, and in the romance stuff, like I said, it really got interesting in that last hour, which kind of saved the movie for me. But other than that, there's still 3 hours of the movie, completely waste of time. But that last hour of the movie did save it a little bit for me to like it more. But if it wasn't in there, this would be another waste of time. The last bad movie on this list, which is why I'm glad this is not actually the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time, because there's going to be complete trash on here. But the last one of those trash, well, I wouldn't say trash, this one is the best one out of the previous two. The Ten Commandments. Now, I went into this movie expecting the DreamWorks Prince of Egypt story. I know that's not the original story that this was based on. I know what the original story is, but that's my knowledge of this story is that movie. So I was expecting that, and that movie did it better. This movie is a slow burn. It's hard to sit through. Now, granted, it's not nearly as bad as the previous two movies mentioned on here, but the movie is still pretty long, and it gets exciting in those last 2 hours, don't get me wrong, but the first 2 hours is mostly setup, and the movie just wasn't made for me. My favorite parts of the movie were the parts that were from the Prince of Egypt movie, because that's how I know the story from, so actually seeing those stuff happen is what I enjoyed the most. But other than that, this movie just wasn't made for me. I knew that going into the movie. I wasn't expecting it to be made for me. And once the movie wrapped up, I got that. This is not my type of movie, so it makes sense why I didn't come out liking it. I can see what makes the movie so popular though. There's a lot in here to like, but yet again, not for me. Now we actually get to the good movies on this list. Star Wars The Force Awakens to me is not as rewatchable as some of the other Star Wars movies. It's not as rewatchable as some of the higher movies up on this list, but it marked a return to Star Wars after like 10 years, 13 years. So it was definitely a event at the time, and this movie does a good job at just setting up the trilogy to come. Although that trilogy wasn't great, this movie at least did a good job at setting that all up. We set up the characters, we set up the story, we know the direction that we're going, if only the studio actually knew that too, and it just serves as a great start. Is it similar to A New Hope? Yes, but the movie's still good. But this movie kind of showed us, hey, this could be a promising start to Star Wars, a promising return. That's what we got from this movie. It's not as rewatchable now because we know the trilogy didn't have that throughout the rest of it. But this movie still serves as like, if you forget the rest of the trilogy and just focus on this movie, it's not bad. Now, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I do not think that this is one of Steven Spielberg's best films. For me, it's like a 4 out of 5. It is still definitely a solid story and is heartfelt. It's a nice, simple story, but it's not what I really expect from Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg made Jaws, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, a lot of other movies, and a lot of other classics. And then you get to E.T., although it still is a classic, I can't say that, it's kind of a simple story. I expect more from Steven Spielberg, and rewatching this, yeah, it's great, but it's kind of simple. Especially in today's terms, it's kind of a simple story. It's still a really iconic one though, and it's still a classic movie. But my main problem with it is that I feel like the alien and the boy's relationship should have been fleshed out a bit more. We get that, but not a lot of it to make us actually have that emotional attachment by the end of the movie. But besides that, yeah, the Steven Spielberg. E.T. is still considered a classic to this day, still holds up, and shows why Steven Spielberg is one of the best directors that is still alive. Now, before I pressed play, I had no idea what this movie was. But when I pressed play, I knew the moment this movie was going to start, it was absolutely going to be my thing. Musicals are my type of movie, and this is what this movie is. It's kind of like Mary Poppins with that style and flavor to it, but it's based on the Broadway. I love the songs in here. There's like all my favorite things. I had no idea that song was in this movie, but now I know where that song came from. There's a lot of popular songs in here that I didn't know were from this movie, but now I know the context behind the songs and know where they're from. But there are some problems that hold me back, like the second act of this movie is not as strong as the first act. The first act is what I love about the movie, but the second act is fully holding it back for me. It doesn't really feel like the same movie. Act 1 felt like a movie its own, and you could have just wrapped up the storyline in Act 1, but then Act 2 just felt like it was extending it out into like this hiding from the police storyline, which was just too long. I feel it was just too long. Overstayed is welcomed. But overall, Sound of Music was a surprise for me. If the movie was just the first act, this would be a 5 out of 5 for me. But the second act holds it back just a little bit, that I just have to go a 4.5 out of 5. But that first act of the movie is what I love the most about it. If only the second act kept everything great about it. James Cameron did it again and makes a 3-hour movie completely fly by. Now, although in this ranking, this movie isn't the highest grossing movie of all time, today it is. And that's just crazy to me. Just saying it's the highest grossing movie of all time makes me say this movie is overrated. Although I do love this movie, the fact that it's the highest grossing movie of all time, like I just said, is kind of overrated. I would have to say the movie's overrated just because of that factor alone. But I still love the world of Avatar. James Cameron did a good job at investing you in this world, showing you what you need to know for the future movies down the line. When it comes to the visual score and acting, it all helps bring this world to life. That's what's so special about the Avatar movies, the world building. James Cameron doesn't miss with that and makes sure you know this world exactly the way he intends. And it shows exactly in this movie. I love the main theme of the movie. Of course, the visuals are the standout of it, obviously. And I can't wait to see what the franchise has to do down the line. And we get a third movie this year, and I'm excited for it. Can't wait to see what that one has to bring. Now, recently, I rewatched this movie again after a long time, and I'm so glad I did because it just proved to me why I used to love this movie as much as I did. On this rewatch, it proved to me why this is probably, if I were to break it down, it's definitely in the top 15 of my favorite movies of all time. The thing is, James Cameron was able to tell a romance story that hooks you in right away. And I first watched this movie when I was like 9. Having a 9-year-old be invested in a 3-hour romance movie is automatically an achievement. And again, this movie's 3 hours. James Cameron completely makes it fly by. He has a talent at making these 3-hour movies fly by. I don't know what he does, but he does it somehow. And James Cameron, of course, put work into actually building this Titanic. And just to sink it in the end as well. Like Avatar, James Cameron knows how to invest you into his story, into this world. Although it's our world, he still invests you into everything that is happening, and proves why this movie still remains to be fantastic. And I just loved everything James Cameron did with this movie. Makes you feel for this romance at the beginning, and then makes it a horror movie at the end. And in this movie, you feel every single emotion that you should be feeling when watching a movie. And James Cameron was able to tell this tragic event that happened in real life, and make us actually see the terror and fear of that event. And he brought it to screen the way he should have. Little did George Lucas know, this movie became the most popular movie of all time, and then became the most popular franchise of all time. For a movie being made in 1977, it still holds up really well to this day. And like I said, is still being considered the most popular franchise of all time. Of course, George Lucas brought this world to life with his world building. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away is of course going to be a different world than ours. And George Lucas is able to represent that entirely. And everything just became iconic. Lightsabers, Darth Vader became the most popular villain of all time. And just the world of Star Wars became the most popular world of all time. And was just a nice introduction to this world and the original trilogy. It's a start to some may consider the greatest trilogy of all time. And it definitely was a start to one of the most popular franchises of all time. With some awesome characters that we all loved. From the moment they're introduced on screen, you like them. Luke, Han, R2-D2, C-3PO, Leia, Darth Vader. You all like them the moment they're introduced. Which is why this movie is still as great as it is. This movie was able to wrap up an entire saga worth of movies. An entire 11 years worth of movies. And Avengers Endgame was able to end it all off on a satisfying note. Wrapping up character arcs, wrapping up this entire journey of a saga, wrapping up everything that was just introduced in every single movie, and finding a payoff to it at the end of it all. This movie was a huge event at the time, and Doomsday and Secret Wars might be able to catch up to it, but not the same way because we didn't really have that same build-up, same hype that Marvel had in this span of 10 years. I do think Secret Wars might reach the same level, but we'll just have to wait and see for that, because Avengers Endgame was just a certain experience that we will never know if a movie will be able to top that. But Endgame was still able to wrap up this trilogy saga of movies, close off the original Avengers storyline, and leave it open for new stories to be told. Like this video, maybe these ones on the side notice you too. Like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.